This meeting is being
Hey,
recorded.
brother. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you able to hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay.
I think we've got about maybe 35 minutes just because it's the
Sounds good.
free Zoom account. Some people from the program are just joining in. So
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to meet them.
yeah. So what I will do is I will just I'll just ask you some questions to begin with, and
Yeah,
then I've got a list of questions that the students told me to ask you. And then yeah, and then feel free to share anything else as well. Okay,
good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
awesome. So let me just see if anyone else is going to join. Victoria Shookfield. Okay, that's fine. Okay, perfect.
How
Cool.
many students are you working with right now?
We've got about probably 80 students.
Nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah. Things have grown a lot since you and PackCheck and those guys were in the
Well,
program.
that's good. No, I'm happy
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. Awesome. Well, what I would we can just have the conversation whilst this is recording. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, sounds good.
that'll be really interesting. Okay, let me record on Zoom and on Fathom. Is it recording? Okay, it is recording. Awesome. Hey guys, Milan Tech Sales here with a good friend and student, Brandon. I actually did a YouTube video with him about 8 months ago or something when he was just about to start his first ever SDR role in the US. And today, 8 months later, I wanted to do another interview and see what he's been up to over the last 8 months. So I want to ask him a bunch of questions, see what he's been up to, talk about his experience of being an SDR for the first time, and then take it from there. So I've got a few people in our program who have joined who will ask some questions as well. But I would love to start off with by Brandon asking you a little bit about yourself and your background. So do you want to just start with a quick intro about yourself, about what you've been up to over the last year now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, nice to meet everyone. I'm Brandon. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago and went to the school in the University of Colorado in Boulder, studying philosophy. And following my graduation, I got into tech sales. And right now I'm at a company called Tech Insights with the job title as a BDR. BDR, SDRs are used interchangeably. Currently, I'm about 8 months in, like Bilal said, and I'm really enjoying my work, and I feel like I've grown a lot, obviously, since our last meeting. So I'm excited to kind of share my development and see how I can be of help to all you guys. So excited to get this thing going.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. So just for context, if people don't know, right? So Brandon was one of my first or like second ever group of students. He was in a group of students, for example, with PackChack and a few other people that I did YouTube videos with. And since then, we've grown like crazy. We've got 80 plus students now in our program. So it's a completely different time now. But awesome. So what is your role? What does your role entail on a day-to-day basis? And we could just take it from there, and then I can ask you some other questions as well.
Yeah, so right now, we've done a major shift, so I'm not really doing any outbound prospecting. There's some elements of it. Let's say I'm bored, have some free time, and like I generally like work like 7 to 3:30 or like 7:30 to 4, something like that. So it's like let's say, I have some free time, I'll do outbound, but mainly what my job is just like fielding inbound leads. We have a pretty good demand generation program or I don't know what the proper term is, but I'm fielding a lot of leads, and I'm also fielding leads from existing customers. So at my company, I'm in the semiconductor industry, and we have a pretty large information platform that like when we quote it all out, I think it's like 8 million, 6 million, something like that. And obviously most companies, don't have all of that. So if they're, only purchasing $300,000 worth of information, there's whole different technology areas, memory semiconductors as opposed to power semiconductors. Let's say somebody completely different comes in, I'll field that lead, and then kind of take the initial meeting or, sometimes we have complimentary reports. Sometimes there's people that just play around on our platform, which sparks my outreach. So I'll essentially, do a combination of emails, phone calls, LinkedIn outreach, and if there's interest in another meeting, then I do that next meeting. So it's kind of different than a lot of people that are just appointment setters that have these
Yeah,
long
yeah.
lists on Sales Nav that you call 100 people up a day. Mine's a lot more targeted, more involved in like the research of what's going on in their roles and their company's initiatives and whatnot. So
And
yeah,
you
we
said,
definitely get.
sorry, I was just going to say, so you do the appointment setting and then the first qualification call in the
Yeah,
sales process as well. Okay. And then at that point, you pass it on to the account executive team, or what happens then?
yeah. If it's a qualified opportunity, then worthy of an AE's follow-up call, then they'll handle it. So for example, I cold called a guy. He was a director of business development somewhere, and then kind of give him like a quick pitch, but it's all just like generating interest for the next meeting. And then I met with him for 15 minutes, and by the end of it, there wasn't any way we could help him, and it
Mhm.
wasn't a good fit. So I disqualified it. Sometimes, I'll meet with them, meet with somebody for 15 minutes, and then you pass it along, and you could tell that it's something that's hot, and they definitely need us. So.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. So with regards to prospecting, I'll get to your question in a second, Shakir, but what's your main method of prospecting right now? You said cold calls, cold emails, LinkedIn, but what's your main one? Which one do you enjoy the most, or which one do you think you're really good at? And and then we can take some more questions on that.
I'm starting to get better at emails right now. I feel like I've got to I kind of utilize AI and then like in the sense of like helping myself research. So it's like I make something that's like since I don't, it's got a crazy volume of um of emails I'm sending out, so I can make it like pretty targeted. And if you do end up reading it, which a lot of times, as I'm sure you know, they don't. But
Yeah.
if they do read it, it is, highly relevant to them.
Yeah.
And then on the follow-up phone call, something's kind of if they read it, they could say, "Yeah, I saw your email," and it's something that sometimes gets brought up on my calls. Um, I like phone calls. I just know like now I kind of understand the purpose of like my phone calls. Like when you initially do outreach, it's not like your qual. Sometimes you can qualify them on the phone depending on how it goes, but it's all just like generating like a little bit of interest and then just saying, hey, why don't we just meet for 10 to 15 minutes? Sometime at the end of this week, do you have any availability? And they're usually like, sure, yeah, I could spare you 15 minutes. So just
Cool.
like the combination of the two is what I really enjoy, but also just like how do I generate interest for just a 15-minute meeting? And it's usually not that difficult. I'm getting better at that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. What is your targets per week or per month, and how are you getting on with hitting them? Like a lot of people in the program, or even people that are thinking about joining our program, one thing that they're scared about, or one thing that they are hesitant about, is sales targets. So they're like, "Oh my God, what happens if I don't hit my targets? What if shall I?
hmm
If what can I hit my targets? Are the targets feasible?" Tell us your experience about that.
Yeah, so it is definitely something that like if you're not, hitting your quota, it is something that the first time you kind of face that, it's like you get worried, job security, like all like your anxieties start coming to light. But I think if you just believe in your process and kind of the company that you're with, it kind of all evens out. There was so I don't so since we're constantly changing myself as a BDR, like what my jobs are, so there's no real like KPIs um for for myself, since we're just handling inbounds. um they want us to get around in terms of like if you get a warm lead, they want it to be 15% conversion rates to a meeting or to a
Right.
qualified opportunity.
Right.
And it's I think I'm getting better and better each week. Like I feel like 2 months ago maybe I was at 8% and now maybe I'm at 10%. I don't know the specifics, but just kind of like that upward trajectory is what my managers focused on, and we kind of meet weekly about like the philosophy of things, just how to improve. We re-listen to our calls. So if you're struggling to hit quota, but you're doing everything that's right, sales kind of has its ups and downs. It flows. Um, in January, I had my best month yet. Right now, I'm on my best month. Like I'm gonna crush my January numbers, hopefully.
Hmm.
I'm almost there, halfway in. But
Hmm.
January, I ended up with 8 qualified opportunities with like a pipeline. Since our solutions are hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's like
That's millions
eight
of dollars, yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's millions of dollars. And
Hmm.
um, and let's see, I had one qualified opportunity with a week and a half left into the month, and then 8 just appeared on me. So it's like I was kind of panicked. I know that Thursday, leading into the final week, I was just like, what if I just don't get anything? And then I kind of, just I remember door dashing food, playing video games, just to be like, all right, I need to just not think about it because I'm doing everything right, and it worked out. So
Hmm. Yeah, look, the way that I see this, right, the whole quota thing and hitting the targets, at the end of the day, it's a target-driven job, right? So you are going to be given targets, you're going to be given a quota. You have to hit that quota. Sometimes the quota is unfair, sometimes you have bad luck, sometimes you're not going to hit it. But like you said, as long as you believe in the process, the company that you work for, the product that you sell, the chances are you're going to go towards hitting that quota, even if you don't hit the quota you're going to go towards the right trajectory, like you said. And if you're scared of that, then obviously this is not for you. Does anyone have any questions? I think we've got Naomi, Shakir, and Daria. Do you guys have any questions? I think I'll go back to Shakir's question in a second because I had a question for you, Brandon. So you've been a BDR, business development representative at Tech Insights for the last 8 months,
yes.
right? What does the when do you get promoted to an account executive? What does the future look like for you? Are you going to stay here? Are you going to go somewhere else?
Yeah, I think I'm for sure gonna stay at this company. Because we get since everything that we do is enterprise, like a lot of companies, their trajectories is like you're a BDR and then you're a small to medium sized business, AE and then like mid market and then enterprise. Since
Yeah,
everything's enterprise, we kind of have the trajectory is BDR and then you're an inside sales representative, which is, let's say there's a company that has a $3,000 subscription and our target for them is 300,000 or something like that. That would be my account, and then I would kind of work on an account growth plan to try to, get them to a higher number, to like a new logo or something along those lines.
hmm,
And then eventually you'd get promoted from there to a um enterprise account executive, which, a few years down the line. But in terms of like where I'm at right now, I don't know, the specific time. Um, in terms of like how long it's going to be take for me to get promoted. There's certain skills that I know I need if I really want to get that promotion that I'm kind of working on with, a couple different managers right now. And it's specifically being able to tie the business impact um, to the challenge that the prospect is facing. So a lot of times they come in and then they're having difficulties, you know, let's say understanding the power semiconductor market. They're trying to develop a new device. Um, they're trying to develop a new device to meet the needs of, semiconductor devices in the power space in, 2 years from now. This person's on the strategy side. It's like I can identify that and then I can, talk to it, but getting getting to the point where there's like a business impact, I'm just not there yet. And you
yeah,
kind of need that if you're gonna present them a $250,000 solution. You need to understand
yeah.
kind of like what happened, what's going on with their company to the point of that they need a solution like that, as opposed to just being like, this is what they want, here's their objectives on a day to day that they can't complete unless, they have this information. Like I need to get to a deeper level. So I'm working on that.
Hmm. But typically in tech sales, you can go from an SD or BDR to an account executive in about, 1 to 2 years. So is that the same for you? Is that going to happen for you as well?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I'm 8 months in. I know the people that got promoted above me who I kind of filled in, they got promoted 8 months in. I think I'm a bit behind them just because this is my first ever sales job. I'm not rushing it. I'm doing everything right as BDR in terms of like my meetings are high quality and I'm a lot more confident than I was, even 3 months ago. But my goal, I think, 5 months from now, maybe like a year and a half in or so, is kind of when I would like to be promoted, just because I don't want to rush into it too quick. Like that's also an issue. If people don't have the proper skill set, they get, super excited because you could double your pay, 8 months in. But if you don't have the right skill set, that's gonna hinder you long term. So I don't think there's my approach is I don't have any shame in like having the conservative approach of like I want to make sure I'm completely ready before I'm having, I'm leading sales with a super expensive product. I want to make
Yeah.
sure everything's good. So
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that's the smarter approach anyway. So I think the new guys that joined, if you don't know, so Brandon was one of my early students. I think it took you how long to get this job, to get this tech sales job? Was it a month or?
it took me a bit longer than other people. I probably started just honing in on tech sales in February, and I got this offer in May. So it feels like it took a long time because, some friends get it within the first month, but
Yeah.
it took
So it
me a
took,
few months.
okay, it took, yeah, I completely forgot because it was so long ago. It took Brandon a couple of months to land the BDR role, 70K OTE in the US. And he was, when we started working together, he was just a college graduate, guys. He didn't have any professional sales or tech experience. So he's been at his company as a business development representative for the last year, almost last year. So if you have any questions, the people that just joined from our program, please ask ahead in the chat or raise your hand and you can even speak to Brandon on audio. So does anyone have any
hmm
questions? Please let me know. So I'll go to Shakir's question, which is what did the training process look like? And by the way, before you answer that, tell people a little bit about Tech Insight. So how big are they? What kind of an organization it is? Just because what I've learned is that if it's a big corporate company like Google or Amazon, their training and onboarding and all that kind of stuff is going to be completely different to a startup to a scale up. So yeah,
So it's pretty established in this space. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm comfortable giving out specific numbers like how much revenue we generate
no,
in a
no,
year.
that's
I
fine.
know there's like 300, 400 employees, so it's definitely not like Amazon or Google that has that, or, some of the companies we work in this space have thousands and thousands of employees. I think our sales org we have two America and Europe BDRs, EMEA, me and another colleague, and then we have three in the APAC region, and then we have, about 10 or 12 account executives that I work with on the American side.
Mhm.
Um,
So what did
and
the
then there's another
training look like?
element of that.
No,
What did the
sorry, go
training
ahead.
look like? Yeah. Um, the first 2 weeks were pretty intensive, just getting um so what I think happened with what I think like the approach with my company is like they showed me what I need to complete in order for a qualified opportunity. They kind of helped me understand like if you're going to be conversating, it has to be related to these types of topics.
Yeah.
The thing is they didn't tell me the specifics, so I had to figure out on my own through watching recordings of my colleagues. Um, how to go about it. So they kind of explained me what I need to do and what it looks like, but like very specifics, like here's how you take a meeting. Like there's, companies publicly traded and a COO comes in, I think on like my second meeting or something like that. And I'm meeting with them and I have no idea what I'm
That's
doing. So
crazy.
it's like they did kind of put me in a sink or swim situation, which at first you're like, hey, what's going on here? But then once you're like comfortable with it, you understand why that's the case. And it's because now, I took complete ownership of, you know, of certain aspects of like the sales process, not the sales process, but like my meetings and how that goes. So it's like
Yeah.
now I think I'm stronger than if they were to just tell me, if they were to give me a script and if they were to hold my hand through it. So it's kind of like they did a balance, like just throwing me out there and also giving me the right resources in terms of doing so. But it's like you're gonna in a situation like this, they don't, you're gonna fail. Whoever I'm speaking to, 'cause I haven't met any of your um any of the people you're working with yet, but it's like you're gonna fail, and companies are gonna know that. And it's
Mhm.
like in order to go forward, you have to embarrass yourself and fail, and that's how this works. And then you get to the other side, and you're thankful that the process was like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a really good approach to teach someone a little bit and then just push them and make them do the actual job. But again, if you
Hmm.
go to a bigger company, so when I was interning at Google in 2019, the graduates that were starting the role at Google or like the new people, they had a very, very specific 3 months long training program. They would go through that training program, which was online learning, in-person learning, on the job learning. So it really depends. Different companies train people differently. So Jerry had a question. How much support do you get from leadership and more experienced sales reps?
I get a lot of support um, for management. So we have a enablement manager who I work with, and we meet one on one, going over calls. This is how you deliver the question. Here's the research you could have done, a bit better. You could have tied it into this question. Like the very like critical aspect of, uh, mm, trying to improve. That's what I do. And then my manager is kind of, we also have weekly one-on-ones where we re-listen to calls and he tells me where I could have improved. So I like the support, and I have good relationships with all the different sales reps, and they kind of know where I'm coming from. I don't have any sales experience, and they're always super helpful. And then I think, sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Nafisa, also had a question. Should I answer that as well, or do you have any
Yeah.
follow-ups related to this last one?
No, I think let me just see. Yeah, what are your biggest challenges? Nafisa's question is, what is your biggest challenge? What are your biggest challenges, and what is the work-life balance like?
Work-life balance is pretty good. The company I work for, it isn't like a boiler room, or, if I get there, I'm the first one in the office because I also have to call into Europe, or I have a Europe meeting, and then that's a 7 a.m. call, and I want to refresh my brain, about what's going on leading into a 7 a.m. call, with a company. So I need to be in the office, 6:30, 6:40, um, to kind of go over my notes and like, this is how I want the call to go. Um, and then let's say, they know I get in at 7, let's say it's 4:30, even like a C-suite will be like, you're the first one here, you should go home. So it's like the work-life balance is super chill, 7 to 3:30, not bad at all.
Yeah,
And I'm really liking the work-life balance. In terms of biggest challenges, um, I think there's just like specific deli there's specific like insights that I don't need right now, but if I want to get promoted, I need to have. It's kind of what I talked about in terms of the business impact. Um, Things like that. It's like I'm in terms of qualification and discovery, I'm doing everything that's expected of me within my role, but I want to be able to become an AE one day. So it's like I have to um, understand kind of everything what's going on and what led them to reaching out to us. And I can definitely work on getting a bit deeper in my questioning.
got it. What one thing I would add to that with the work-life balance thing. So working in tech in general, the work-life balance is insane. What like really good. Whether you work in sales, customer service, marketing, or engineering, the work-life balance is literally amazing, especially if you work in engineering, because engineers, especially, they don't really have, typical quotas or targets per se. So what you see engineers do in these really big tech companies, or even like startups, is they have multiple gigs that they do at the same time. So they're an engineer here, and then they're an engineer here, and then so then they had three engineering jobs, and they're just printing money. But also, it's because they can just get away with working 4 hours at one company, 5 hours at another company, 2 hours at another company. So that's uh, that's what the work-life balance is like. We had a question saying, did you target this company or did you just mass apply and get this job? So just to give you context, in the new program, what we teach people is that there are four ways of landing interviews: recruiters, networking, mass applications, or build an ideal list of 50 companies and then targeting that list to get interviews. Just like imagine you're setting an appointment as an SDR at a target company. So, how did you get this job? What was the process?
Yeah, so I did do, it was a combination of the targeting, like you said, maybe not as in depth of like creating an entire list of 50 companies, but there were like, unicorn companies that got like unicorn awards or, like whatever tech startup kind of award show thing. I did target them, wasn't that successful, and there were specific programs geared for college graduates at Oracle, at Dell, different companies like that that I also applied to. And then at the same time, I was mass applying to um, any tech company in Denver, which is where I reside, that kind of
Mhm.
meets my criteria of minimum, 65 OTE. Um, in person and in the tech space where there is like clear, promotion paths. Um, so so it was one of those. Like I didn't know about this company prior to my application, but I did some research into them and it was what I was looking for. So that's how that happened.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a lot of people in our program get their jobs through mass applications and networking, but I feel like networking these days is a lot more powerful than just obviously mass applying, right? Yesterday we had a student, Shadia, get a role at a company called ClearPay. I think her OTE is like £62,000, which is 75 plus K dollars. And it's through networking. She got that opportunity by networking with an account executive, and he gave her a referral to the hiring manager. So yeah, definitely emphasize on networking. Any other questions for Brandon, guys? We had one other question from Shakfir, which said, "What's your process to qualify a lead? Do you follow a checklist? Or, like, I guess he's asking about your sales process. What does that look like?"
hmm Um, there's certain things I need to kind of understand. So it's given, the price of my product, they have to have some level, some altitude or at least some ownership of something that like impacts the overall year to year, quarter to quarter business strategies. So it's like if a person comes in and they're a year into their engineering job and they just are so tunnel visioned in their day-to-day processes and they're like, well, I need a report, to help me with this one thing. And I can say, look, we don't do that. Can I please if you could connect me with your manager, and it's always way more tactful than that. But, we have to go up in elevation. If a director comes in, then I just kind of need to understand what prompted their interest and where we fit into that. A specific, essentially, we need to have a specific challenge that they can solve, and they need to be a quote champion. Champion's kind of loose, you know, so I kind of just look for like the right altitude in terms of they're able to kickstart, a few $100,000 subscription, and they're also tied to a certain extent to the company's key priorities that impacts how they do business year to year. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that was pretty clear. Shakir asks, looking back, what changes would you have made to find a tech sales job faster, if any? That's a really good question.
Um, I think it was two ways I want to go about this. The first one very quick. I think I was too uptight in my interviews. I was kind of like I put so much pressure on myself to get this job that if I was just looser in myself, like I build great rapport and do a lot of research. So I think maybe I could have gotten those interviews in the beginning would have gone a bit smoother and I could have gotten hired earlier. But also one thing that I just didn't appreciate until I was really in the job is, and then this is something I wanted to touch on in this meeting as well, is the amount of research that you can do to kind of prepare yourself for these meetings. I think that goes a long way. It's something that I develop, that I have to utilize. I have to understand, these are your guys' big key priorities going into this next year. I know you guys are releasing these kind of products. And then in a meeting, with a client, you can speak to that and you can kind of connect the dots between why they reached out and what they're doing, over the long term and to where we come in. But in terms of like in the interview process, if that's what a company's looking for, somebody who can conduct that amazing research and be able to speak, at a high level to what's going on, you should be doing that in your interviews as well. And that's something that the law stresses, and that's something that I also wanted to harp on, is that that's how you separate yourself from others when you're in the interview process, is like how in depth of a research can this person do, and can they connect it in an actual meetings. And
That's a really good
yeah.
point, man. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's how I got my job at Stability. Like I just did so much research because I was interested. I really wanted to work there. I wanted to work for a really advanced AI company. Like I didn't see myself working anywhere else. So I just did loads of research, podcasts, blogs, just Googling around, ChatGPT. And it's not just about researching, by the way, guys. It's also about connecting the dots, like you said, right? So they want to see someone who's a critical thinker, a creative thinker, someone who can think outside the box, use all the information, connect the dots, make commercial sense out of that research. At the end of the day, we're not scientists. We're the guys that make money from what the scientists do, which comes down to being commercially aware and having that business acumen, which you obviously develop over time. Any other questions for Brandon, guys? Last 4 minutes of the meeting. The question I had for you, Brandon, is right now you're a BDR, right? Making 70K or something like that. What does the promotion look like for you? Once you get into an account executive role, how much will you be making then? How much are the best people making at your company? I'm always curious about money.
I think the next is like 140 or something like that. Just
Nice.
because I saw a job application when we were hiring for a new one.
Okay.
And then this wasn't anything recent. This was like, 4 or 5 months in, they started hiring for somebody above me, so it didn't make sense to hire me. Yeah, but the OT for that's 140. And then I've also looked at our enterprise AE salaries, and it's like 250 or something like that. Um, and I'm sure you could go up, depending on how much you sell, but
Hmm.
that's probably what's expected.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So the next step would be 140K OTE. I'm guessing the base for that would be 120, 100 or something.
I think it's like 95,
Okay,
100,
95.
something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I pulled that one out of thin air, so
That's fine.
something
Okay.
along those lines.
Yeah. Okay. Is your company looking for any SDRs in the UK? That's what this guy,
No.
that's what Shakir asked.
No, we stress in person. So we have Denver headquarters. And I think that's where the business development manager is. Um, I know there's AE spots of, we have a office in the UK though, so AE or marketing, that's where they reside. A lot of AEs in the UK. So reach out, let's get connected 4 years from now. We can work together.
4 years from now. Oh my God. Awesome. Any other questions for Brandon, guys? I don't think there's any other questions. I just really appreciate you getting back to me, Brandon. I know we spoke about 8 months ago, and really excited to do this again, man. Maybe we can do this
Yeah.
again by the end of this year.
Yeah, I'd
At
love
that
to.
point, you're an account executive. At that point,
Yeah, no,
we'll have a lot more students as well.
if I ever get promoted, I think I will, so I'll reach out when that comes, and we can set something up for then.
Yeah. Yeah, and stay in touch as well, like always on LinkedIn.
Yeah, for
Guys,
sure.
if you want, you can connect with Brandon on LinkedIn. I'll share his profile in the WhatsApp group. He's always happy to help. He's always replying to my messages as well. So feel free to connect with him. Don't bother him too much, obviously, but just drop him a line or two. But thank you,
No,
bro.
yeah, yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to bother me, So, so, yeah,
Appreciate
I'm
that.
always happy to help somebody that wants to, do what I do, and I'm sure I have some good insight. So, yeah, don't hesitate to connect with me. I know some people I think already have, and then, give me a question or two. I might not be immediate when I get back, but I'll try to get back to you.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, man. Have a great
Yeah.
weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. I'll just end the meeting now.